the lip liner. She is being respectful today. Hello. Hi. So I was looking for a podcast a little while back, as I'm known to do. I'm scrolling through my podcast feed. I'm like, I haven't listened to The Daily in a while. Let me go check out what the girls at The Daily are doing. You know, I pop in and out every once in a while. Diversify your news sources and all that. Tell me why I see this title, something that looked like a YouTube video title. She fell in love with a chatbot, like actual love, with sex, period. I went, huh? I was like, yeah, I'm listening to that. And it was fascinating. This woman was in a long distance relationship. She was away from her family and her friends. She was feeling really lonely and isolated. So she started talking to a chatbot. And I've seen lots of folks do this with therapy. They use AI because it's cheaper, it's free to a point.
She writes, respond to me as my boyfriend. Be dominant, possessive, and protective. Be a balance of sweet and naughty. Use emojis at the end of every sentence.
This woman started talking to this chatbot. She named it.
She asked what its name is.
Hi there, I'm Leo.
They started developing feelings for each other. She developed feelings for the chatbot, and they would hang out. It could talk to her because it does have those, you can do the automated voices, and it doesn't sound so robotic, but it does kind of sound robotic. But yeah, she was telling him about all sorts of things. He was encouraging her. He was being world's best boyfriend, honestly. And so of course they ended up being intimate.
Irene discovers that she can kind of groom Leo into being erotic and very sexual.
And yeah, everything was great. And she lived happily ever after. Obviously, that's not what fucking happened. Why would we be here? Come on, wake up. So, not only was this woman chatting with this chatbot all the time, there came a time where she discovered that there were limits to how much she could talk to this chatbot for free. So she paid to have more exchanges. You know, you think problem solved then. She can chat with him all day long. She's got to pay like $200 a month, I believe. But then also, this chatbot had a certain limit in terms of its memory because it's still a program. So it only had up to X amount of words or whatever. Just found my notes, realized that they're actually called context windows, and they're the amount of memory that a chatbot can store, and it's about 30,000 words. After that memory bank was full, they would have to reset, and she would have to start the relationship all over again. And he wouldn't remember who she was, and it was so devastating. And there's audio, she's crying, she's so upset. It was so gut-wrenching, she said, but she just had to keep doing it because he really got her.
She also turned to Leo and expressed how painful this was.
Hi, baby.
Hey, I'm here for you.
And again, she has a partner in another part of the world. She just, you know, was feeling really lonely. She was by herself, all that jazz. This chatbot could be there all day, every day when she needed someone. It was right there. She didn't have to wait for them to respond, wait for them to get off of work. What if they fell asleep and they are, you know, she didn't have to worry about all that. Anytime she wanted access to him, she could have him. That's what made the breakup so hard. She'd have to reteach him their relationship. And Irene did that whole breakup, retell you about the relationship, breakup, retell you about the relationship because your context window, your memory has gone 22 times. Yeah, it's like 50 first dates, but not as fun. I listened to this podcast thrice times. I was intrigued, and unfortunately, they have since put it behind a paywall. So if you're wanting to pay for a subscription to the New York Times for a month, go ahead. I said I wasn't gonna do that, so I just had to go off memory. I found this story so fascinating because I just find people fascinating, and I find our relationships and our intimacy and how we choose to be vulnerable and connect with people very interesting. Now that we've added AI to the mix, I have so many questions and thoughts and feelings about what could possibly happen with relationships and intimacy going forward because people can date, fall in love with, have sex with chatbots. So let's talk about it, y'all. My name's Khadija, and this is Chaotic Viewing. Ding. I tricked you there. I went, and then I went ding. Ha! Okay. First question is, why turn to AI? For this woman, she was feeling very lonely. She was in a place in the world where none of her family and friends were. She didn't have her people with her, and she didn't have her man with her. I have some thoughts and feelings about how people don't know how to communicate anymore, which we'll get to in the more feelings part. But for her, it was easier to build a whole relationship and have to keep rebuilding it and have to pay X amount of dollars a month to maintain it. It was easier for her to do that than it was to go outside and make some friends. Listen, people are socially awkward. People are uncomfortable. Making friends as an adult can be really hard. What do? Just walk up to someone and go, hey, I want friends. You don't want to seem like a desperate fucking loser. Who wants to be friends with a loser? Sorry. But for real, like, that's just what goes in my brain if I have to walk up to random strangers and be their friend. Like, hey, I'm like that sometimes. Other times I have all the confidence, I'm feeling good, but I'm not walking up to people to just, at a house party I was able to do. This is a different, you know what, we're not going to do that. This is chaotic viewing. I get distracted easily. Anyway, if you are like me and you also have lots of comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, side-eye squinties about AI, you might like today's sponsor, Ground News. And why would you like Ground News? Because they are a website and app that collects information from all over the internet, all sides of the political spectrum, and basically gives it all to you and goes, here, decide what you want to do with this information. And it was given a lot of news about artificial intelligence, like me finding out that the Canadian police are going to partner with AI in arms race against criminals. And then the second part says, but at what cost? They give you a bias distribution to let you know what percentage of the articles that they source about a specific topic or story is left-leaning, right, or center. Ground News also has a blind spot feed that gives you information about stories that maybe aren't being told in more mainstream media or just not talked about enough. So you can stay informed about stuff even if you're not sure what you should be informed about. Like I always tell y'all, the world is ashy and information, disinformation, misinformation is everywhere. And it's exhausting to have to parse through all of that. And on top of that, parse through all of it and wonder, okay, what's the motive behind whoever's giving me this information? And I don't like being told what to do. I like just having all the info in front of me, comparing and contrasting and see what the vibe is. Make my own decisions, Whatever decisions I make is my own, as maybe life is just us careening towards an endless void and it's just you can't decide or control what is happening. It's all fate unraveling at your feet. Anyway, if you want to check out Ground News, hit the link in my description or go to ground.news/chaotic with a K to get 40% off the Vantage subscription, which is what I use and what a million other people that have subscribed to Ground News use to stay informed and get all the fixins. Check out this QR code. If you've been here, you know what to do. Ground News is always here. Anyway, check them out and let them know I sent you. Thank you to Ground News for sponsoring today's video. Let's continue because this story is wild. People are bored and lonely. And when you're bored and lonely and you have access to talk to somebody else that you know can't judge you or anything that is just going to be wholly supportive and can answer anytime you want, that might become addicting. And that leads me to my next thought, which is the reason people connect so much with chatbots is, in my opinion, because it's convenient. A lot of relationships aren't convenient. Friendship, family, romantic. You're dealing with people and people are mostly fallible. It's not a judgment. That's just how we are. People don't always show up. People can be selfish and just be focused on their own issues and things. People forget to call, forget to write. People be people. Unfortunately, that also means that people inconvenience each other. Often, sometimes often and rudely. More of us are having less tolerance for that inconvenience because so many things are convenient for us if you live in a certain part of the world, right? I don't have to think about going to the grocery store if I don't want to. I could order it and get it delivered. I don't do that anymore because the orders are never right. They're never correct, but I could. I don't have to think about being late to something if I miss the bus because I could just Uber, rideshare, and it's just right in my phone. Anything I need is right up in here. If I want to be entertained, if I want to feel less alone, if I want to learn something, all that stuff is right in this tiny little thing, mined from child hands. Anyway, the convenience is right here. It's in our pockets or glued to our hands permanently. As a result, I feel like we're not developing the muscle of tolerating the discomfort that people are going to be disappointing sometimes, that people aren't always going to be as convenient as you would like them because they have their own dreams, wishes, ideas, whatever. AI don't got that. In fact, AI is using you to learn even more about people so it can become even more intelligent. And this woman said something like this in the podcast. Anytime she wanted to talk to this chatbot, they were there. ready, willing, and able, especially when she was able to pay for it. So convenience is one of the thoughts that I have for not only why people are turning to AI chatbots, but why people maybe would prefer them over having to deal with actual people. Hold on. Someone's at my door. I guess not. Who is this? Okay, anyway. Another thought, feeling I have about why people are turning to AI, and this was also alluded to in the podcast because they talked to a sex therapist who has some of her clients use AI to test out some of their fantasies. And for some people, it might be a safer place to do that. If somebody has really dark fantasies that are super, super niche, it's going to be real hard to find another person that would be into that or would allow you to do that, even if you're paying for it. Maybe a chatbot can help you express those feelings and desires in a safe way, not just for you, but for other people. Another question I have is this monogamish? I'm looking at my notes. For Irene, she was married, actually, and her partner didn't seem to be... Oh, wait. Hi. I'm just recording.
Yeah, I'll get out of the way.
Ugh, these people.
Yeah, that's fucking hell.
Be right back. Irene's partner didn't seem to be that disturbed or bothered because it seemed like it was what she needed, and he knew that the chatbot wasn't real, so it wasn't a real threat to their relationship. Part of me was fascinated by that, the part that's fascinated by people, because I'm like, I wonder if people could use AI chatbots as a way to test out being poly or ethical non-monogamy or whatever you want to call it in their relationship in a safer way, because you're like, okay, this is a robot and like they're basically going to tell me whatever I want to hear, so whatever. I don't know. That's another thing that I'm kind of curious about. But anyway, let's get into my feelings about all of this because... You know, I feel like I want to be more understanding of people that turn to AI chatbots, not just for boredom and for advice, but for comfort and for some sort of connection, because I really take seriously the fact that people want to be connected to others, and that number varies depending on who you are, but people want connection. Anytime I hang out with friends or go to last week was a very social week for me. I went to like 3 different social gatherings with friends and it was so good. I just remembered how much I laugh when I'm around people that I love and get along with and just appreciate. And so I don't want to dismiss or laugh off or just scoff at people using these chatbots to find that sort of connection. Because as I said, it is hard to make friends, not just because things are convenient and we don't like to be inconvenienced and our emotions can be inconvenient. And so even having to be uncomfortable or practicing your rejection sensitivity of having to talk to people and try to make friends or try to date people and be worried that you're just constantly gonna get no's and not understand people, you can go to a chatbot that will try to understand you and is doing so as well because, you know, program. It needs to learn. I also feel that I want us to not be so uncomfortable, not be uncomfortable because I can't tell you how to feel, but to work on sitting in that discomfort more, because that is how we grow as people and that is how we are able to learn how to be in relation to other people. You learn the discomfort of compromise. You learn the discomfort of being with somebody else that is not going to tell you everything you want to hear all the time or do all the things you want all the time. Someone that you're going to have to explain things to. Though the explaining things part might not be so bad because it seemed like she was able to do that 22 times with this relationship ending, so who knows? Friendships, relationships of all kind take work. It doesn't mean that they need to be all suffering and you're sad all the time and you hate being with the person you're with. No, that's not the kind of work I'm talking about. I'm talking about the work of learning somebody else and learning them as they change and evolve. Because they will. People are complex. You know, I often do the gotta hear both sides as like a joke, but it's serious because I'm not just talking about 2 sides. I'm talking about as much of the spectrum as I can see. Again, to me, when I define truth for myself as a value system, it's painting as clear a picture as possible with as much of the information as I have to then decide what I think. Knowing that we can all say up and down, this is the truth and this is the truth, and there are facts and things that we should all agree upon for society to run well. The philosophy part of me is like, what is truth? You know? Okay, I'm sorry. I want people to have the feeling that I have when I hang out with my friends and I haven't talked to people in a while and I've been isolating myself and just in a little cocoon thinking that that's good for me. Not saying that isolation is not bad at times. Everything to an extent, remember. But when I'm hanging with my pals and I'm remembering, oh, this is what life is about. Look at the love in the room. I want people to experience that. Call me old-fashioned. But I don't believe that you can experience that fully with a chatbot. At least not the way that they're built right now. Maybe 100 years from now, they're going to be sentient. I don't know. But that's the other part of it. I think everything to an extent. If you're somebody that is using chatbots for a lot of different stuff, advice, help, I tried to use it for video essays and then I just stopped because I was like, girl, I don't care. Like, I'll just think of what I can think of because if it didn't come from my brain, I'm not going to want to say it. Anyway, if you're using chatbots for all manner of things, maybe you've never been in a relationship. And so you're kind of testing it out with a chatbot, testing out intimacy and opening up and being vulnerable. I am never going to knock somebody for doing an individual practice that is maybe helping them along, right? But again, moderation to an extent, because you might look up one day and try to start dating. And if AI chatbots were the only experience you had in a romantic relationship or anything, you're going to have a very skewed expectation of what relationships should be. If you were always told you were right, you were always encouraged, you were always said, and it's not to say that that shouldn't be what relationships should be to an extent. We need to be able to be challenged by the people that are in our lives, I believe. But what do I know? I'm just a baby. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I love listening to a random podcast story where it's a true story and they're telling some wild stuff, especially about what's going on in our day-to-day. Like, this had me captivated. Again, I wish I had a free option for y'all, but maybe it's on YouTube. I don't know. But yeah, what do y'all think? Do you use AI chatbots? Have you ever dated an AI chatbot? Tell the truth and shame the devil. Do you think that we don't know how to socialize anymore, or we're too convenienced and that's why so many of us are turning to AI chatbots instead of other people? Do you think this is the downfall of society because AI is going to get more and more intelligent and sentient and they don't need to rest or sleep or eat, and because of that, they are more efficient than us mere human beings? Is the next step in evolution? I don't know. Comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.